Welcome back. Today we'll continue talking about digestion and we're going to talk about what may be causing your cramps or bloating. There's a condition called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Nutritionists and doctors call this SIBO. We'll talk about what causes it and how you can deal with it. So a little more on digestion. What is chyme? Chyme is a slurry of partially digested carbohydrates and proteins along with undigested fats and water. Chyme moves from the stomach into the small intestine. This is where most of the water is absorbed from the food, and with the help of the bile from the gallbladder, fat digestion begins. Most of the nutrients are absorbed throughout the small intestine. Foods are typically in your small intestine for 2 or 3 hours to be properly taken apart and absorbed, but they may be there for up to 6 hours if your peristalsis is too slow. This can be problematic because your digestive system can begin to reabsorb toxins back into the body if it sits in there too long. Like I mentioned before, slow peristalsis means that the smooth muscles along your intestine are not working properly. Let's talk about slow peristalsis. I know a lady who only poops once a week. This means that the food she's digesting is sitting in her intestine for many days and is reabsorbing all sorts of unhealthy stuff like the toxins I mentioned before, old estrogens, along with all sorts of unwanted stuff. So one day a week, this lady takes a laxative and stays near a toilet for that whole entire day and empties herself out. This lady also suffers with severe migraines, dizzy spells, and is plagued with low stomach acid and digestive problems. She also has great difficulty swallowing things like rice, which regularly will get stuck in her or halfway down her esophagus. She then has to make herself throw up in order to clear the blockage. This woman clearly has difficulty with her peristalsis. She is reabsorbing toxins, which could be causing her migraines and dizzy spells. Her low stomach acid will also cause malabsorption, which will also have a negative effect on her health. Slow is okay for sloths, but not for humans. It turns out that sloths only poop once a week, but that's normal for them. If you're only pooping every 3 days or so, slow peristalsis may be your issue. If you have this concern, there is a way to test it. There's a special charcoal that you ingest available from the health food store. Once you take it, start timing how long it takes for your stool to turn black. This tells you how long it took for your food to get through to your digestive system. It should go through within 24 to 36 hours. That tells you if your peristalsis is working properly. Too slow isn't good, but too fast creates a different problem. If your peristalsis is too fast, you're not getting all the nutrients you need. Your food needs to be in there long enough to get broken down completely and absorbed properly. As I've mentioned before, the food, or the chyme, leaving the stomach is still very acidic, and the intestine is not meant for acidic foods. So slow delivery of this acidic chyme allows the body to lower the acidity. Bicarbonate ions are released into this mixture to alkalize it. At this point, bile from the gallbladder start the digestion of the fats, and the pancreas releases enzymes to help digest all 3 of the macronutrients. These are enzymes like amylase for the carbohydrates, lipase for the fats, and protease for the proteins. You find these all throughout the digestive tract, but most of them are released by the pancreas. From here, it takes about 2 hours for the food to reach the large intestine, where a special valve called the ileocecal valve lets the food through at an appropriate rate. This valve is a key factor in the health of your gut because along with making sure the digestive food doesn't go back into the small intestine, it controls the circulation of your gut bacteria. This lower valve or sphincter relaxes to allow chyme into the large intestine. Once the food is through, the valve closes up to prevent chyme from going back into the small intestine. The small intestine doesn't house very many bacteria, but the large intestine does. So it's important that this valve works well. Otherwise, bacteria can flow back into the small intestine and may cause what I mentioned at the start, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. This is when you have too many of the wrong bacteria in the small intestine. It causes gas and pain after eating certain foods. If you suspect you have SIBO, ask me for a list of foods to test with. This list of potential food is pretty long because different foods affect different people differently. The process of testing involves a version of an elimination diet. You cut out this list of foods from your diet and then reintroduce them one at a time, looking for a reaction of bloating or gas. As you go through this program, you'll learn how to heal the gut, and in the long run, these issues can become a thing of the past. Thank you. I hope you're learning little tidbits each time you watch one of these. Next week, we'll go deeper into how the intestine absorbs your nutrients. We'll also talk about malnutrition. When you can't absorb your foods well, your body doesn't have what it needs to build and repair. You'll also learn what happens when the gallbladder is surgically removed and what to do about it. Choose to be happy. I'll see you next week.